Matthew, good afternoon.
Sugar, Webbo, how are you, lads?
I tell you what, Matty. Now, I don't want to give
Webby,
I feel like I'm cheating on you, Matty. I feel like I'm cheating on you.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth. You're cheating on me, brother. Come on.
Now,
It's a make-up shift.
not
as good as make-up sex, but it's a make-up shift.
You know, technically, we're swinging. Okay.
We are.
Yeah. Don't mind it. Don't mind it at all.
No,
now,
you know,
boys, just another
Desperate
swinging.
times, Matthew. Desperate times.
Are you a Mobland man, Webby?
Oh, well, that's when I got the melanoma cut
Yeah.
out. I just sat there high on painkillers watching Mobland.
You finished it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Smashed it.
All
Loved
right.
it. Loved it.
Okay, now, I actually had to go back and check the dates. And now, this is a massive disclaimer, folks. It is a spoiler alert. But if you want to see the end of Mobland, do not watch Matty Johns with your podcast with Buzz. Because, mate, that is... Harry D'Souza was Matthew Johns. If you see the ending of Mobland and the story you had with Matty relating to a certain situation back in those days, Matty, you were Harry D'Souza.
Harry D'Souza.
Yes.
That's right.
Allegiance.
That's right.
Allegiance.
You got that, mate. What
That's right.
What a great show, though.
Oh, what a
man,
great show.
He's some sort of actor, Tom Hardy. Look, a little tip for people out there, because people watch Mobland who aren't right across the body of work from Tom Hardy. Obvious movies like like Warrior, he's fantastic in that. He's one of the great villains in Bane. In Dark Knight Rises, which I know it's a superhero movie, but it's just a sensational film. And a little sleeper you should go and watch. It's called The Drop. Very, very good.
The Drop.
You know, again, involved in the mob and whatnot. It's a very good film.
Oh, what a great series
But
that is.
I think Helen Mirren's character, she steals the show, yeah?
Terrific.
In Mobland.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Incredible.
Yeah, she was terrific. I put Fletch onto a good show, boys. If you like Mobland, you'll like The Better Sister. So that's Jessica Biel.
Right.
Fletch has got a yarn about her. But it's a very...
What is it?
I keep hearing that. The Jessica
No.
Biel story.
Yeah, I don't
Tourist just put the finger into the studio. I spit that out and said,
What we
no,
can do, we can merge together the Jessica Biel story and the Rod Stewart story.
Yeah, we could do
Something
that.
tells me they may match up.
I like that. I do like that. Now, Matty, we've been very lucky, haven't we, Webby? We started the program and the program started in concert with the second half of the 1997 Grand Final. And I've got to be honest with you, a lot of these events I hadn't seen for years. Mate, the amount of times, like, so Cliffy Lyons hits the post with a field goal. Fieldsy's kicked the ball out. Shannon Nevin has a penalty kick to take it 18-10. Gee, there was so many sliding doors in that game, wasn't there?
Oh, I tell you what, as we're leaving Newcastle to head down the highway, there's a church at West Walls End on the left, and the parish priest put up a thing at the front of the church that said, "God bless the Knights." And when we came back down the highway and we took that exit back to come into Newcastle, the church was there, the sign was there and everything, but there were about 30,000 people waiting for us off the exit. But the priest had 3 extra words. He'd read, "God bless the Knights, ... and he did." When you see
beautiful.
some of the things in the game, you go, yeah, that was...
Wow.
Oh, man, that's... We're 30,000 people waiting for us off the West Walls End interchange, and then 100,000 waiting for us in the city.
Wow.
So,
Do
time of your life.
Do you go back and watch it? I know your brother very well. I'm sure he'd be watching it, maybe 2-3 times a week. Do you ever entertain it yourself and watch it alone?
Sounds really strange, Webby, but it's sort of... When I watch it, I find it hard to enjoy. Now, from the perspective that I get really emotional, and I just find it... Yeah, I find it uncomfortable. I know it sounds really strange, but particularly when we start to get down the stretch with 20 minutes to go and a lot of sort of things come back to me, and I find myself getting very emotional watch it. So only, once every couple of years I'll sit down and watch it.
Mate, great footy too. Like, even Manly, who had the lead, they were still gunslinging. They were still throwing, going after it. I tell you what I said to Webby earlier on, Matty, and I said this for State of Origin 1, and I've never seen actually something more similar to the scenario than watching your replay of this game. State of Origin number 1, Queensland really didn't look like scoring. They'd scored 1 try in 65 minutes. They trailed by 8. They had an option to take the 2 to be within 6. almost the identical scenario. You guys had scored one try in about 65 minutes. You're down by 8, and you took the 2 to be within 6.
We did. Yep, it was about 10 metres to the left side of the posts. Joey said, we'll take the 2. And I'm standing there, and you could feel we were starting to get on top. And Adam Muir walked over and said, we got these blokes, we're going to win this. And I went, I know. I absolutely. I said, just felt that there was nothing sure in my life. And, yeah, I remember, so it was funny. So not long after that, because what happened with Manly had a really composed defensive line. That in those middle 90s, they just dominated with their defence. Yeah. And so it was very hard to disrupt their defence. So we started, when we're coming out of trouble, we were playing a little bit of sideline to sideline to try to loosen their middle. And then later in the second half, we just said, let's just go sideline to sideline to sideline in attack and just disrupt them, try to disrupt their just continuity. And you see when Robbie O scored to try to level things up, again, it was 2 or 3 sequences of sideline to sideline. We get an offload and Robbie goes through the middle and puts the ball down. And I remember when he kicked the goal, it was 16 all. I can't remember how long to go. There might have been about 5 or 6 minutes to go. And I remember coming back and going, right, I've just got to work towards a long-range field goal. I had to speculate it from about 40-odd out, didn't get anywhere near it. But the week before, right, I kicked a field goal against North Sydney Bears, which got us through, right? And in the week leading up, I was interviewed in a current affair by Ray Martin. And Ray Martin, he came to the training session and he did a scenario. He said, right, you kick the field goal. You kick the field goal to get the boys through to the grand final. I'm going to give you a scenario. The score's 16-all with a couple of minutes to go, and the ball's in front. What do you do? I said, I'll call for the ball. He said, do you kick it? And I said, well, time will tell. Well, that scenario happened, and I got the ball to kick it, and Beaver came out of the line, and he came really hard at my right foot, and I had to adjust it. And I hit it, and I thought to myself, mate, this is going to go over. And then literally I saw it drift, and then hit the post and go out. Now, if you watch the replay, if I hadn't hit the post, the worst possible result for me was hitting the post. If it went through, that's the point. If it misses, it was hanging up for so long. Billy Peden is under the post, waiting to catch the ball and put the ball down. And so, okay, we don't get that one. And we work up again. And Manly, by that stage, had just lost all their composure. And, you know, they're coming up with errors. We had one last crack at them and threw the ball to Andrew. Andrew was charged down. So we end up with 10 seconds to go. We're on the sideline. And I'm standing under the post and I'm calling for the football. Now, I've told Webby this story, I think, before. If you go back probably 3 or 4 years, there wasn't a lot to do in Cessnock. So Andrew and I, when we were younger, we used to sit and just watch game after game after game, right? And just try to pick up certain things, you know, from tape. One of the things we did pick up, which we had a theory, was that one of the golden rules of defence is if there's one marker, you don't chase, right? You just sit. And we used to notice that when wingers went into marker, even if they were single markers, they'd always chase because they weren't used to being at marker. Even if it's right on the touchline, they won't be able to help themselves. They'll chase in field. So we find ourselves with 10 seconds to go. Joey is sitting on the sideline as Mark Hughes or Darren Albert is playing the football. And I'm standing on the post and I'm calling for the ball. Hopper's at marker. Joey glances up and realises it's a winger at marker. Throws a dummy, goes up the short side, and we win.
Wow.
How good.
Wow. I love that. Just repeat that, Matty, what you said about the priest. So God bless Newcastle.
He said, God bless the Knights. And then we come back into the highway, and he just put 3 words. And he did.
And he did.
And the celebrations were quite biblical in themselves, weren't they?
Oh, man. When I walked, I remember it was chaos.
The whole town just basically went out till about Thursday.
Well, Webby, you were there.
I was.
Webby,
yes.
You were there. You know,
I was doing my best at Fanny's and the Castle Brewery.
We drove in. When we went into Newcastle, there was like about 100,000 people there. We went to the Workers' Club, and there were people like in that area of Newcastle. Got the old trees, the oak trees that sort of hang over the road a little bit. I remember Trish and all the other partners were on the bus. When we were driving back, we knew something was brewing because when we hit Gosford, there used to be roundabouts from Gosford every few kilometres into that interchange into West Wallsend to go into Newcastle. And when we hit Gosford in the first roundabout, there was a bonfire and a party going on in the roundabout. And then everyone since it was going, there were people on the side. We said, this is going to be crazy. Once we got into the middle of the city, there were people climbing into into the trees, jumping on top of the bus and trying to kick their way in. The bus got written off. And I remember at the time they were really concerned because a couple of the partners were pregnant, including Trish with Jack.
Oh.
And it was just madness in the club. It was just chaos. And I remember must have been about 10 o'clock in the morning, just stumbling out. And the town was deserted because everyone had just been up on a complete bender. And it was just rubbish everywhere. It's like, honestly, it was like a zombie apocalypse. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get home? And next minute, a cop car comes past. The old, not the panel van, what do they call them? You know,
yeah. The paddy wagon.
The paddy wagon.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hauled them down. I said, hey, fellas. And they get, Matty, wow, mate, how good? And I said, fantastic. I said, mate, I've got to get back to New Lambton. Mate, is there any chance? And they said, oh, mate, you're going to have to jump in the back of the paddy wagon. I said, no, good as gold. So I jumped in the back, and there was another bloke in there. So, yeah. So he got done for holding his dukes up against someone, and we're sitting in the back. So I said to the coppers, mate, can we go through McDonald's? They said, mate, you won. Do whatever you want.
Oh, that's so good.
Too good.
Oh, wouldn't you love to go back to just be one of those 17 players and to enjoy that week? Just to sign off on that too. I know it drives me mad, but going back to that scenario in Origin, right? If a team leads by 6 and they get offered 2, 9 times out of 10, the coaches take it, right?
Yep.
But conversely, when they're down by 8, it should be the same. Why don't they take it? It's the same mathematics. It does my head in.
Yes.
But you guys did it correctly, and you won the grand final. The rest is history.
And I tell you why, Joel, the reason why you do it is that when you're playing football and you've got an 8-point split in opposition, you've got enough breathing space, right? And you're not under nearly as much pressure as when they're within 6. Right? So that's the reason. Sometimes it's not about you, it's about them. How do you apply pressure on them?
Craig Bellamy, 24 years it's going to be. Matty, he's gone for another year next year. What a career.
Incredible. And then this is the thing, Webby and I have spoken about this. Blokes like Craig Bellamy and Wayne Bennett, they'll coach, in my opinion, till the day they die.
Yeah.
Right? Because what else are they going to do? That's...
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a gardener, Bellyache.
No. From what I understand, he doesn't collect stamps. He doesn't fly kites.
Yeah.
He's not into solariums and that sort of stuff. So, what do you do?
Wayne is, though. Wayne's a big solarium guy.
Yes, he is, the old Lothario.
Yeah, he loves it. But can you see Bellyache coaching anywhere else, Matty? I can't see him coaching against Melbourne at any stage.
Because, Webby, the year he nearly left, 2000, going into 2008 season, it was going into 2008, he nearly left to go to the Broncos. The Broncos have made a really big play at him. And he went up there and he was 70-30 going to be a Bronco. And it was right at the end of the meeting with the board, one of the board members said something that struck him. And the board member said to Bellyache, you won't have the same leeway and rights as the last bloke had, the old bloke, meaning Wayne. And at that moment, he realised, mate, this will never be my club. This will always be Wayne's club. And so that's the reason he stayed at Melbourne. And I just think he just sees Melbourne, and it is, as his club, his legacy, and to go somewhere else. And even the greatest coaches of all time, in it, right, Webby, where some of the greatest coaches of all time, Jack, he left, the Roosters, and he had success at other clubs. But sometimes you go to another club after, Parramatta, and you don't have the same success. It's just not the same. And so I can't see Bellyache coaching anywhere else. There's a bit of talk people said about the Gold Coast, but he won't do that.
No. Well, Jack always had 3 years. It's always his limit.
What about this? It was 6. Yeah. What about this? How's this for uncanny, boys? This is 2023. It is Manly and the Newcastle Knights 16 all, and the ball's near the sideline, and the winger chases in. And they went back to the short side. Instead of Darren Albert scoring, Dom Young scores
Newcastle
a try.
up 22-16.
To take it to the same scoreline.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
It's in the DNA, boys.
There you go. Just before you go, Matty, just watching that, and we have been waxing lyrically, but it was a famous game. I'll tell you a bloke who I thought killed it in that second half for the losing team, Spud. He was great.
Yeah.
tell us about that rivalry with him and the Chief.
It began as a healthy rivalry and ended up being a toxic rivalry. It really got nasty. The night that, well, honestly, he and Chief collided. It is so lucky for both of them that they weren't hurt more. But that game, full house again, and Chief hurt his groin behind the line, and the trainer said, Chief, you've got to come off. And he said, I'm not going off unless I take him with me. So he's there for one more tackle, and he said to Joey, kick off to him. And a few of us said, mate, don't, because this is a bit of a Spencer stuff. But for us, it was like, don't do it, because this could be really bad. Anyway, Joey being Joey, he oppositional, he kicked off to Spud, and they went down, and when they clashed. But to give you an idea of the intensity of the rivalry, was that later that year we went away in the World Cup tour, and I remember sitting on the bus, and I was sitting next to Spud on the bus, and me and Spud were laughing and having a joke and turning around, and Chief was just staring at me. He just stared a hole straight through me. And for Chief at that point, that for me typified the rivalry. He was saying to me, well, Matty, whose side are you on? You on his side or my side? So I just tried to stay Switzerland.
Hey, Matty, I'm just watching, and I know I've been referencing Fox League a fair bit, but I think this game's at Mudgee. I've got a feeling this game here, Knights versus Manly, might have been Jack Johns versus Cooper Johns.
It was.
And it was a draw. Is that right?
Yes, ended up a 32-all draw. Now, my grandmother June, she was a publican in Mudgee. And so everywhere I went around, there was a lot of people that sort of knew my grandmother, and people were asking me in that game, the boys are playing against each other, who's going to win? And I kept saying, well, I've seen the script, boys. It goes to Golden Point, but it ends up a draw.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Ridiculous.
What? And
that was a strange one, because Jack had a blinder that they played the best game he did as an NRL player, and Cooper had a stinker, which was one of his stinkers. So this is one of the hardest things. So in one hand, you're grabbing your son and you're going, good on your son, well done. And then you turn to the other bloke and going, pick yourself up a little bit. You weren't too bad. It was a perfect example. Like, some of those parents who have, kids, 2 or 3 kids, like, the Walters parents, what they must have been through, honestly, the ups and downs.
Wow. Hey, Matty, thanks, mate. We've taken you a long time, but we appreciate it. And Tourist is up me, so I'm going to turn these TVs off. You keep referencing them, but they're great old memories. Well done, mate, and we look forward to Morning Glory tomorrow.
Good on you, lads. See you tomorrow, Webber.
See you then, Matthew.
What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.